If you're in the same subsegment of the Taylor Swift fandom as me, you've probably been waiting for Cassandra and Mad Woman to be matched up for a long time. And the fact that Taylor not only gave us what we have been so badly asking for, what we have been clamoring for since the very beginning, she has also made it a little bit better by adding in I Did Something Bad. It is another three-way cross surprise song. It was very exciting. It's something that a lot of us were waiting for, and it was even better than we expected. And let's be realistic. Nowadays, the large majority of things that I wait for are not nearly as good as I expected them to be when I get them. I will say that TTBD was better than I expected. I think that album gets a lot of hate from people that don't understand it, but I think it's her masterwork. It will be her magnum opus. People will be referring back to it for many years. But obviously, Cassandra and Mad Woman basically have the same premise, that people don't like it when you, as a woman, are correct, and they will make you look like you're crazy rather than confronting the truth that you're trying to present them with. That is the fundamental truth between Mad Woman and behind Cassandra. And I think in mashing up I Did Something Bad, one of the things that this mashup is saying is that, like, yes, I knew more. I was better than they wanted me to be. They were afraid of me, so they tried to take my power by making this lie up that I'm crazy and all of these things. But also, is it really a lie? Because all of the things that they have done to me have made me crazy. It is like a self-fulfilling prophecy. These individuals have told her that she's crazy and they've gaslit her and stuff for so long that it has actually become the truth. And I think one of the underlying things in TTPD that does not get discussed enough is that Taylor, very covertly, but still I think it's pretty clear, she says that there were people in the industry that were supposed to protect her and that hurt her. A lot of the theme of like her art and her life and like her professional angle of things is that a lot of people, even the people around her that were supposed to love and support and help her the most, are people that have actively worked against her at one period of time or another. Now, with these mashups recently, we have been having a couple of recurrent themes. Step into the daylight, embrace who she actually is. There has been this theme of merging Taylor Swift the person with Taylor Swift the brand, because obviously she has tried for many years to sustain this image of Taylor Swift, the perfectly perfected pop star, but also that means that Taylor Swift, the deeply flawed human, because all of us are deeply flawed human beings, because we are, those things don't come together, right? Those things cannot comfortably exist in one person forever. And one of the themes of her music recently, and especially the mashups and everything that's been going on with the Eras Tour and all that, is that she is going to set aside Taylor Swift the brand, or she's going to blow it up, or she's going to merge those two Taylors together into one whole. And hopefully through the process of doing this, she can actually focus on being herself and living her life as herself, rather than being the person that she has needed to be to continue to fulfill her contractual obligations, to continue to support her family, to continue to support the literal hundreds, if not thousands, of employees that she has working for her at her various companies. And that's not even counting all of the people that work for Eras Tour and things like that. Taylor Swift is financially responsible for a number of human beings, and she has always been very aware of that. And one of the things that I see her doing more and more is trying to financially help the people that are going to be displaced when she merges these two Taylors or blows up one of the Taylors in order for the other to thrive, because she is not going to be able to maintain her larger than life status forever. And there is this number 35 that I have brought up a number of times before, and I think that it weighs heavily constantly on Taylor's mind. 35 is the age at which female pop stars get significantly less financially viable. At that juncture, the large majority of female pop stars usually branch out and do something else. So I do think a lot of these things that are happening in Taylor's universe right now are contingent around her birthday and her age. And I think these are things that come up all the time. Like 1213 is a number that comes up, 12 comes up a lot, 13 comes up a lot. These are numbers that are associated with herself and her birthday and her identity and things like that. But also, fundamentally, December 13th of this year, she has been hinting at it a lot. She's been hinting at it for months. There is definitely something that is going on December of this month that is going to change the way a lot of people perceive Taylor. And what I'm not clear on is really if she's going to do this is like one fell swoop and just like do an autobiography, or do the uncut version of Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, or do a different documentary. It seems like maybe a documentary is being filmed because there are cameras around her a lot, and we seldom see any of that footage. That footage is being retained somewhere for something, for some project. And I do think a documentary maybe, or an autobiography, or both, may be in the works. That might be something that gets announced. It may be something that hasn't gotten talked about much because of the fact that the anthology record vinyl is going to be out at Target on Black Friday, and also is the Eras Tour book, which I need that book. I don't want to go to Target on Black Friday though. But anyway, this is the context that this exists in. And what I would love to do is discuss all of the surprise songs and how they interrelate and how they braid together and all of the weaved interlocking narratives and stuff like that. But that is going to take so much work. And literally once a week, Taylor is getting up and making 3 new concerts where she has, you know, a bunch of new surprise songs. So that hasn't necessarily been possible. And I do think that there are going to be theorists who are looking at what happened in the Eras Tour, all of the changes that happened. If you've been paying attention since the beginning, the theming and the lighting and everything like that has been really intensifying as the concert has gone on. As Eras Tour has continued, there are more bright rainbowy colors. We saw that like shades of grayish back in black and white. We saw a lot of that visual imagery on the screen behind her up until the release of TTPD and then right after TTPD. But increasingly, we are seeing more of these rainbow hues creep back in as she goes from being stuck in black and white to being in screaming color. And it's fascinating to me that every single time she sings that lyric in screaming color, there is so much intensity behind it. When she's singing the end of Exile, when she's saying, I showed so many signs, I gave you all the signs, but you didn't even read the signs. Like, there is such an intensity behind the things that she's saying because there is such a significant population of Swifties that is not listening to the narrative that she is saying because they are too hell-bent on just focusing on the things that the news media has said about Taylor Swift. The things that the news, that all of these like media mogul heads who often want to rob Taylor of her power, right? Because Taylor can be a threat to the media, right? The media wants to keep celebrities under some level of control, right? Because the media can profit a lot off of SEO for very big celebrities and things of that nature. And one of the consistent narratives in Taylor's career has been that battle to control her own narrative, to say what she wants about her life and to not have that subverted by the things that, you know, the tabloids and the mass media and things like that are saying about her. Before this video gets completely interminable, I want to get to the lyrics of the mashup. So she started out with Cassandra, and the tempo was very, very slow. It really felt like it was almost like a half tempo, and that was kind of when I got the feeling that A, she wanted us to listen to the things that she was saying. She wanted to make sure people heard the lyrics clearly. People have been transcribing these basically every night. She wanted to make sure that person had an easy job. Also, it really had an added intensity and added, oh crap, there is something big that's going to be happening soon. So I haven't discussed Cassandra on this channel much, so I'm going to discuss a little bit of the first verse. I was in my new house placing daydreams, patching up the crack along the wall. I pass it and lose track of what I'm saying because that's where I was when I got the call. Now, this is fascinating to me because you would think it would be really easy to figure out temporally when this scenario takes place, because when did she have a new house? Well, Taylor either rents or buys a new place roughly every 18 months or so, or she did for like a 10-year span. And I know a lot of people believe that this is the phone call that she got saying that Scooter Braun had purchased the rights to her masters and everything like that, but I'm not necessarily 100% convinced. There are a couple of other candidates for this. I have a lot of suspicions that everything that happened with Kimye was allowed to continue and get as big as it was because Taylor presented a threat to the industry. Like I said earlier in this video, it definitely feels like she hints that there are a number of people that harmed her in various ways. And I actually believe that the reason that she sued that DJ that had like roped her, I believe that the reason she had pursued that so strongly, even though to a lot of people it seemed like not that big of a deal, which it was, but whatever, is because I get the distinct feeling that at other times in her career career, she has been placed in a position where she has not been able to confront the people that hurt her. And I definitely suspect, especially because a lot of the Kimye stuff happened around the time that like Me Too movement and all of those other things were bubbling up. And I definitely get the feeling that everything that happened to Taylor right before Reputation that culminated in her releasing Reputation is the powers that be in the music industry kind of kicking her in the britches and saying, look, you're not going to fight back on what has worked for us consistently for, you know, this system has worked for decades. You're not going to come along and Me Too us and, you know, expose people and expose everything that's happening behind the scenes. You're not going to destroy the industry blender, as Shelley Wright would say. Shelley Wright, I don't actually know that I've ever heard anybody say her name, and now I'm realizing that I'm not entirely clear if I'm pronouncing it right. Hold on. Ellen DeGeneres is calling her Shelley, so I'm going to assume that that's the correct one. So one recurrent theme that a lot of us Gaylors have been discussing is Shelley Wright, and one of the things that she said when she came out of the closet as a lesbian country singer is basically that the system wants you to pretend that you're in a relationship with a man to make it easy for them to be as profitable as possible. They are making an investment in you, and they don't want to lose out on that investment because bigots no longer want to listen to your music. And one of the things that Shelley has said when she came out was basically that the only way that things were going to change in the industry was if a large figure came out at the top of their game. She specifically referenced either a major pop star or a major country star, and then she also said, and an NFL player. And it's so interesting to me how much Travis Kelce, who lives with a man and has for several years, that man comes with him to the Eras Tour, and we have it on pretty good authority that Ross and Travis get a room together and Taylor has a room separately of them. There is a lot of hinting and inference going on right now that Taylor and Travis are going to be the ones to shatter the respective blenders. And this symbolism has been in Taylor's art for a very long time. The You Need to Calm Down music video has a tremendous amount of symbolism. And one of the things is that Taylor in that video, she destroys the blender, right? And Shelley expressly called it like destroying the industry blender. It's so interesting. Taylor has worked with Shelley in the past, so they obviously are aware of each other. Shelley was also wearing a shirt in the interview where she was discussing industry blender, and that shirt is very similar to one that Taylor wore on one of her early pap walks with Travis. And it definitely seems like there were at least 2 times when Taylor made steps towards coming out, and that was in the lead up to Reputation and also in the lead up to Lover. And in the lead up to Reputation, that seems to have been stopped by Kimye and the phone call being released and everything like that. So I definitely think Cassandra's phone call could be referencing the Kimye call. It also could be referencing a phone call about Taylor Swift and Diana Agron, because when they were hanging out a lot and there was a lot of hinting that there was something more than friendship going on, there was actually a fake article about them dating that went semi-viral. And shortly after that happened, Diana Agron took her Tumblr offline, and there were a lot of things that happened in the response to that. Her Tumblr being called Fell Down the Rabbit Hole, which is a literal lyric in a literal song that Taylor has written. So I think it could be referring to a phone call as far back as that. I definitely think the cracks in the foundation of her house are the secret that she has needed to maintain the entire time that she was a celebrity. The person that she is inside that is separate from that perfectly perfected pop star Taylor Swift, the brand. That is the cracks in the foundation. Those are the things that can threaten her house. Her house being her career, her work, the ownership of such. This is a metaphor that Taylor commonly uses because we cannot relate to things like, you know, having an immense body of work and having that immense body of work meaning a lot to us emotionally and all of the other things that Taylor deals with on a day-to-day basis. I have spoke way too much about the single part of that song. When the first stone's thrown, they're screaming. In the streets, there's a raging riot. The first pride was a riot. The first brick thrown at Stonewall. She references throwing bricks and pointedly people throwing bricks at her, her being the target of the bricks. If she was an ally, she would not be the target of the brick. When it's burn the bitch, they're shrieking. When the truth comes out, it's quiet. And I know a lot of people interpret this line a lot of different ways, but my thought is that it's like when people were getting angry at me over a lie, they were shrieking. But when I try to tell people the truth, everybody's quiet. And I think a lot of times in her lyrics, when she has made songs about herself, Me is the perfect example. Me is unabashedly a song about Taylor learning to love herself. I do believe it was meant to be something more, because I do believe it was meant to be the culmination of her second attempt at coming out. But also, people hated it. Like, whenever Taylor expressly says, this song is about me and how I feel emotionally, and it doesn't involve a man in any way, she just gets called a spoiled little rich girl. When she says things about herself, she has to invent these elaborate narrative devices for people to actually care about her. She has to frequently position herself as the man to get people to care about her. And it's so frustrating. Like, so we had the Eras Tour come back after TTPD, and the entire TTPD set was added. And initially, when that set was first added, people were uncomfortable. People were like, oh crap, this is awful. Like, she is being broken down and then like propped back up, and like she's not in control of herself, and she just seems like a robot. And like, all of these people were thinking these things until the day she invited Travis on that stage, and then suddenly, oh, the man fixed her. No, men do not fix you. They might make you think that they fixed you, but the power has always been in your hands to fix yourself. And me personally, every time a man has tried to fix me, the only thing that they have fixed is they have made me in the image of what they want in a wife. And that in no way does any good for me. Like, so much of the message in a lot of her work has been her need to deeply focus on fixing herself and her struggles with her mental health and everything like that. I was meant to be sent away, but they forgot to come and get me. Like, it's so much like isolation and aloneness when you're at your lowest point, and it's so heartbreaking. And the way that people immediately tried to shift the context of that, because, oh, Travis is there, so it must be romantic. Or maybe Travis is there so that you guys will make the connection that a lot of things that have been happening with Travis are not romantic. He does not prioritize her. When has he ever came to the Eras Tour in full Taylor Swift Eras Tour merch? So many times she has gone to his games dressed up like a perfect football wag, and everybody has ate it up and begged for more crumbs, even though it is completely in defiance to a lot of things that Taylor normally wears and does. But yet, there is no expectation that he is in any way going to change himself or prioritize her or any of those things. And the only time that he has ever prioritized her over his, like, career and like skipping practice and stuff like that is when they've had a PR emergency and they need to fix it up real quick. Like, there are a lot of very deliberate things happening in the way we are shown Taylor and Travis together. So who was Cassandra, the historical figure? Cassandra was a figure in Greek mythology. She was a Trojan priestess dedicated to the god Apollo and fated by him to utter true prophecies but never to be believed. And I know initially when this song came out, a lot of Gaylors were like, I feel like a Cassandra because I feel like I'm interpreting all of these signs and symbols that have been in her music, and it's not until it's employed in a heterosexual context that anybody believes me. There is very much this trend for Gaylors to be the first to pick up on things. Like, for example, the yellow brick road thing. This is a theory that has been in Gaylor spaces for 2, maybe 3 years. It has been a while. There have been a lot of links to Dorothy and to Follow the Yellow Brick Road and all of these things in Taylor's art for a great many years. And a lot of Gaylors have been bringing it up and connecting it to the queer history and all of the queer associations that Wizard of Oz and that franchise has always had. And it wasn't until like a week ago that Swifties outside of the Gaylor spaces actually started to realize, oh, hey, wait, maybe this is Dorothy and Follow the Yellow Brick Road. They're literally years behind. It's very frustrating again and again and again to feel like we see a lot of the layers of truth in there, but to be told it's fake and we're not understanding what we're reading, and like, because it's not the main media narrative. So they killed Cassandra first because she feared the worst and tried to tell the town. So they filled my cell with snakes, I regret to say. Do you believe me now? The way I interpret that is they killed Cassandra because Cassandra tried to warn us, and when I tried to come out and warn people about the industry and the way the machine worked and the fact that I had to live a lie and all of these things, they ensured that Kim Ye took me out. And it definitely feels like there is some added level of machination that is happening here. Like, I don't feel like Kim and Kanye were the like planners behind this thing. I believe that there's powerful figures within the music industry who know that Kim loves to start crap to get clout by having difficult interactions with other celebrities. And the more time passes, the more that seems plausible, especially like I said in TTBD with the hinting of the people that hurt her, the people that should be in jail for the things that they did. Then we go into Mad Woman. What did you think I'd say to that? Does a scorpion sting when fighting back? They strike to kill, and you know I will. You know I will. What do you sing on your drive home? Do you see my face in the neighbor's lawn? Does she smile or does she mouth, fuck you forever? I've always loved this verse for two reasons, right? The first reason, because a lot of people will sit there and they will poke you and they will prod you and they will provoke you. And then when you snap at them, they will be like, oh my God, see that person? They just snapped at me. They're terrible. And I think that that's something that has happened to Taylor in the industry and with her friends and things. I think there's definitely the inference that they have sat there and they have poked the sleeping bear. But then when the bear comes up and smacks them back with the bear claw, they're like, oh my God, that bear hurt me. And the second part of that verse is basically kind of a, like, they'll sing my songs, they'll enjoy my music. There are a lot of people that I call fairweather Swifties, people who are only Swifties because Taylor is doing the things that they expect her to do. And like the second that she stops being in committed relationships with men and playing the proper prim pop star good girl, they are going to abandon her. But pointedly, they're going to still listen to her music. Because every time you call me crazy, I get more crazy. What about that? And when you say I seem angry, I get more angry. Again, about the telling women they're crazy until they're actually crazy, until they actually have a mental health problem from all of the gaslighting, but also poking a woman and prodding in her until she gets angry and then being like, oh my God, why aren't you so angry? Because that's what the reaction that you're trying to generate out of me is. And there's nothing like a mad woman. What a shame she went mad. No one likes a mad woman. You made her like that. And you'll poke that bear till her claws come out. You'll find something to wrap your noose around. There's nothing like a mad woman. When you frame a woman as crazy, suddenly that woman is no longer socially perceived as having as much worth, as much value. Think about it when people go missing. A lot of times when people go missing, the family will conceal mental health problems that that individual had because they know a lot of times that the police will just dismiss their absence. Oh, it's just another crazy schizo that walked off again. A lot of times if they're seen as being paranoid or schizo or having a lot of hallucinations and delusions, or if they're neurodivergent or things like that, these are all traits that make people think that these women deserve what is happening to them because they're not trying to get better. And there are so many ways that society is kind of designed to make women feel like they are crazy and to kind of subdue and to harm women that way. Ever since men can't get away with their wife as much, there is this uptick in people that are controlling their wives by making them feel crazy, by making them seem crazy, by having a psychiatrist label them as crazy. Because once you've reached that point, you can often 5150 them and put them under your control. I've talked about conservatorships on this channel a bit before and how I feel that they're often weaponized against people to get control of their assets and their money. This has happened to Wendy Williams, Bam Margera, also obviously Britney Spears. So then she mixes the two songs together. They knew the whole time that I was onto something. The family, the pure greed, the Christian chorus line, they all said nothing. Blood is thick, but nothing like a payroll. Bet they never spared a prayer for my soul. You can mark my words that I said it first with a morning warning no one heard. I have said one of the underlying themes of TTPD is daddy issues and the problems that Taylor has with her father that seem to stem from him really valuing her like financial capacity and her ability to make money, but also like we saw the email that leaked, he very much blames himself entirely for the fact that Taylor is anything. And yes, daddy's money really did help get Taylor's career started. Taylor didn't get to be the biggest pop star in the world just on daddy money alone. She had to have a lot of talent, she had to have a lot of wisdom, she had to have a lot of traits that women need to have to survive. The wisest women, as she said before. She has had to learn from women around her what things are safe, which things are not safe, how to navigate this space, how to be able to continue to make money and protect herself and the people that she loves the most, when even the people that share her blood are not necessarily reliable because blood's thick, but it's nothing like a payroll. And that line hits extra hard when you have a family business that the whole family works at, but like you're the face, you're the one that everybody associates, you're the one that everybody blames, positive or negative, for what goes on. Because her parents, and especially seemingly her father, prioritized her payroll and her earning potential and things like that, she has not been able to be the person that she wanted to be. She has not been able to fully actualize herself as a human being. She has had to hide a lot of herself. She has had to to put all of these things in her lyrics kind of subversively so she can get her message across to the people that can listen, that will understand her perspective and her point of view and why she's had to do these things, that won't condemn her just because she probably likes girls. So I'm taking my time, because you took everything from me. That was so heartrending. So heartrending, because obviously there's the layer of it being the master's heist and all of her work, all of her life's work, her art being taken away from her. The thing that she describes as her home being taken away from her. But there's also the element that she hasn't been able to publicly be with the person or persons that she has wanted to be with because she has had to present this image of being a perfectly perfected pop star, and very early in her career she got a lot of crap for dating around a lot, so then she's done 2 very PR heavy long-term relationships that are about as airtight as a holy sweater. Like, when you really look at those relationships, a lot of the things that is said about them does not appear to be true. I think about how Taylor says, "My bare hands paved their path," and holding up the hand and looking very deliberately at the ring finger. She wanted to marry someone else, but because it was not good for the image and for Taylor Swift, the brand, she did not go through with it. Because she could not eventually own her life's work again and have Taylor's versions and all of these things in a reality where she has come out with the person or persons that she wants to be with. Watching you climb over people like me. The master of spin has a couple side flings. Good wives always know. She should be mad, should be scathing like me, but nobody likes a mad woman. I think in the industry there are so many people that are only concerned with their own growth and their own hierarchy and their own structure and their own earnings, and it becomes very difficult to know who you can trust and who you can't. And there's obviously this theme that Taylor has been betrayed by a lot of the closest people to her, and that has made her have trust issues. That has made it harder for her to have comfortable, normal relationships with people. I mean, I really hope that this isn't currently the truth, but in the past she has said, like, that, you know, her mother was her therapist because, you know, she can't really go to therapists because there are so many people. Princess Diana is a great example. One of the ways that the tabloids got Princess Diana's information is from the records at her therapist's office. Because even if you wholly trust, like, that therapist, that person to hide your secrets, a lot of medical offices are not really the best when it comes to data privacy and data security and things of that nature. They just leave records laying around. That's one of those reasons that, like, as somebody that worked a lot in IT security, that, like, I'm not super comfortable with a lot of doctor's notes, and I don't tell my doctor or my therapist a lot of things because I don't want them on paper somewhere that it could just be compromised. I don't want my deepest, darkest, like, the things that scare me the most to come out and just be common knowledge. Because people could just have a one-way ticket to destroy me emotionally. That's not cool. The master of spin has a couple side flings is such a fascinating line to me because on the one hand, I do think she's referencing other people, like these men that go out and they have, you know, affairs on their wife and all of that jazz. But I think also it is about herself and directed at herself and directed at the fact that, like, she has these public PR relationships, but also she is very often seen on the side with, you know, people like Harley Kloss and all that jazz. I say that I try to stay muse-free, but also the way that she was presenting them together as friends, just walking around holding hands and all that jazz, like, there was a certain inference that was being made there. What a shame she went mad. You made her like that. What a shame she went mad. And I love those 3 lines because it's like, what a shame she went mad. And it's like someone else like, you made her like that. No, what a shame, she went mad. There is this general social ideology that no matter what you go through, no matter how other people hurt you, you need to be, like, calm and dignified and not let them know that they're hurting you and to be completely unflappable and all of these things. And there is often this perspective that if a victim doesn't act like a good victim, which, by the way, the only good victim is a dead victim because then they can't come around and do things that would make people feel less sympathetic for them, like being a human being with flaws. Like I said at the top, every one of us is a human being with flaws. And I think these 3 lines very concretely say, like, you can be like, no, she didn't go mad, you made her mad. And they'd be like, oh, what a shame, she went mad. They're not listening. They don't care what they've done, because this is the way the system is designed to keep strong, talented, inspirational women down. Like, the number of women in my life that have been through a situation where the people in their lives, oftentimes the men that they're in relationships, have made them feel mad, made them feel crazy, rather than just going out and being a better person and being up to their partner's standards. Then we go into I did something bad. I think this is funny for a lot of different reasons. A, I think there's a level of, oh, I did something bad, I made a very gay mashup that the headlers aren't going to be able to say, tee-hee. But I think there are other levels to that too. I think there's also the other level that, like, this shouldn't be bad. Like, somebody just being honest and truthful about the things that are happening in their life and the ways that things have hurt them should not be a controversial thing. Like, it should not be controversial to have women just coming out and telling the truth. But when you have an industry, pointedly, where there are a lot of men who are predatory figures who are in positions of power over a lot of very young, very desperate women, a lot of egregious things happen. We saw this with the Me Too movement. And there's definitely been an effort to make Taylor look less reliable, less truthful, to make her look less sane, to make her look like these things are her fault and that she was asking for it, to make people, especially women, because women are often each other's hardest critic. They say I did something bad, then why does it feel so good? They said I did something bad, but why does it feel so good? Most fun I ever had, and I'd do it over and over and over again if I could. It just felt so, so good. So a lot of people forget that Taylor went to Catholic school, because I think they really downplay like the Catholic element of it, but it definitely seems like at least a little bit, at least tangentially, at least somewhat, her faith structure was shaped by Catholics and Catholicism. She keeps going back to a lot of Catholic like imagery and music and things like that she referenced with her visuals and things like that on stage, and it very frequently comes up in tandem with the songs where she is being the most explicitly queer, when there are the most explicitly queer symbols there. And as somebody that also went to Catholic school, although my parents aren't religious, so I didn't really take it that seriously, but also I did take it seriously subconsciously in my brain, because I hid my orientation for many years because they made me feel very uncomfortable about it when I was in Catholic school. And I think a lot of us, the way that we kind of reclaim that part of our identity that is stolen and squashed and suppressed by Catholic dogma, is to play with religious imagery in our own work. And this is obviously something we've seen Lil Nas X do with, like, basically his whole shtick, realistically. But it's also something we saw earlier in this song, you know, talking about the, you know, Christian chorus and all that jazz. And very often a lot of queer people live in this weird dichotomy while simultaneously being with a member of the same sex, or being with the person that we feel that we're supposed to be with, and identifying the way that we're supposed to identify. It feels good. It's one of the best things that I've ever done, was to decide to stop being in the closet. Sure, there are a lot of things that have been made more difficult by it. My career is going to be a lot more difficult, like just in social media, because a lot of people are less likely to support people who are very aggressively gay on the internet. It is so hard to have this dichotomy in your mind where in one ear you have constantly people saying, no, you're bad, you're gonna go to hell, God hates you, all of these things, but then at the same time, by embracing these things, you finally feel peace and safety and relief and comfort and understanding in a way that you've never felt before for the first time. And this is just, it's so profoundly difficult for a lot of queer people, and I think that's one reason that a lot of us love I Did Something Bad. Perfectly articulates that feeling of finally allowing you to be yourself and finally feeling the relief come flooding in, but then also simultaneously to see tons and tons of people shouting at you because they don't agree with who you are and what you believe in. And she emphasizes this by repeating the bridge to Cassandra again, because they knew the whole time I was onto something. The family, the pure greed, the Christian chorus line, they all said nothing. Blood's thick, but it's nothing like a payroll. Bet they never said a prayer for my soul. You can mark my words, I said it first, with a morning warning no one heard. And then back into the, they said I did something bad, then why does it feel so good? And I love the way that she really braids these songs together towards the end, and that she really brings all of their meaning together and links them together in this concrete fashion. You can mark my words, I said it first. Do you believe me now? Do you believe me now? What a shame she went mad. Do you believe me now? They said I did something bad. Do you believe me now? What a shame she went mad. Do you believe me mad? Or do you believe me now? They said I did something bad. It really feels like this back and forth of like Taylor like, hey, do you believe me? Do you believe me? Do you believe me? Do you believe me? And it's like, no, you're bad. You're mad. You're not good. All of these things. And like I kind of said earlier, there are these times in these mashups where it feels like she is screaming these songs at her audience because she wants them to hear the lyrics, to think about the lyrics, to think about the song, to think about the meaning, to equate it to something more than just, oh, today she's having a bad day with Travis. Today she's having a good day with Travis. No, today she's on stage talking about how no one believed her, no one listened to her, no one would let her be herself, be openly herself, and every time that she tried to, they just beat her down and framed her as mad and crazy, and you can't listen to her, she's just crazy. Then, when the first stone's thrown, they're screaming. In the streets, there's a raging riot. The first pride was a riot where a stone was thrown. When it's burn the bitch, they're shrieking. When the truth comes out, it's quiet. If you've stuck with this video for this long, you must have liked something, so please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I have just finally hit 2,000 subscribers, so that's very big for me. I apologize if this isn't really edited that much. I needed to get this out before Taylor did more stuff tonight, or else no one would care about this video anymore.